Hello, everybody. I'm Barb Dunn, and I'm here with Nikki Sasser. And we have a special guest today, Jason Park. And
Hi, how are
we
you?
are the funding flip side. So let's get started. Jason, thanks for joining us today. We are so anxious to talk to you. You are just bigger than life, superstar, and very honored that you have some time to spend with us. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, I don't know if I'm a superstar, but I think I'm kind of
I'll
big
roll
and
with it.
like he's part of our team, right? So maybe she talks about us too much.
So, starting from the beginning, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this. And, I know a little bit of the story, but some of the people on here may not know. And it's a great story. So if you want to start there, that'd be great.
Well, Pace said, don't tell me about it. So I guess I'll tell you about it. But if you don't know, I come from the restaurant world, right? So there are a few options that I had when I applied for colleges, and one of it was trying to pursue medicine. But the thing is, as much as I loved the education, I didn't like to study that much, like especially material I wasn't interested in. So one of the other options after college was, okay, maybe I'll go into the restaurant business. So I did. And my personality is pretty anal retentive. And so I'm uptight for a lot of people but when it comes to a certain segment of the restaurant population, it fits really well. And that's like the farm to table and the Michelin style restaurants, right? I got into that route. Los Angeles didn't have Michelin when I was here. The year after I left for San Francisco, Michelin was, in Los Angeles, and they started to give out stars and things like that. But I applied for Michelin restaurants in New York and San Francisco. I landed in San Francisco and ran a 5 restaurant group as a corporate sous chef. So that's a second guy in charge of all the restaurants. And the sous chef does all the grunt work. The executive chef does all the direction. And he's a manager of everything, kind of like a general. They're not shooting guns, but they're controlling everyone that shoots all the guns. So I was a guy that shot a lot of guns, I guess. So I ran that and worked for other Michelin-Star chefs. So I was in the Michelin circuit in San Francisco until I came back to Los Angeles. But before I left in 2006, I joined Coldwell Banker Commercial. And that was while I was doing my farm to table restaurant. And during that time, I also, got a little bit bored and I became a certified EMT, or an ambulance driver. So I was one of those guys that would come to the rescue. And I went to the real estate office minimum 3 times a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday was mandatory, especially for training in the first year. And then sometimes I'd go in like Tuesday as well. We had some meetings that were typically on Tuesdays. So the real estate team that I was brought on to was led by one of the brokers, so one of the partners of the brokerage, and 2 other senior executives that were in their late 50s and 60s. So they had been in it like 20, 30 years. And to be a gopher and to be the guy that had to do everything because I was the young one and the new one is, I think some people complain that, hey, I'm just a gopher. I'm like, but you're not understanding the conversations you get to overhear, the contracts that you get to review, sitting in the boardroom with the opposing, party and watching closings happen. This is like an amazing opportunity, right? So if you have the right perspective, it's like the opportunity and the teaching that you get is amazing. But some people will take it and say, hey, I'm just a grunt. I'm just doing all the little work and things like that. So it goes back into Pace's mindset change that he creates, right? It's your perspective on everything.
Well, that leads right into what's going on right now with the Orbit program in owners. So we're taking on, I'm so thankful you've said this because it's so valuable. And that's what we're offering, is to be in those rooms, listen to those conversations, go through the motions. Yes, you have to work, but what you're getting back is just catapulting, spring forward your business forward in learning. Yeah, thank you for saying that. It's so valuable.
But that's absolutely the case, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's a two-way street. If you take the perspective that this is an amazing opportunity, the people with experience, which in this situation is the owner club, will go, hey, this guy or this gal is like really motivated. I don't have to tell them to work. They want to work. And if they just spend time and being mentored by me, they're going to be on the fast track. And now I have assistance to accelerate my business quicker, right? And
Yeah.
I think if people have not experienced that type of system, then that's why they have the wrong perspective. But thank goodness, Pace weeds a lot of these people out, right? So it makes it better for us.
Yeah. Yes. We've talked about that in past podcasts as well, how lovely it is, or fortunate, to be able to get online and ask questions and have those answers within minutes. Geez,
Yeah,
I need help with this. Boom, you've got the answer. It's
yep.
really great.
Yeah.
So true.
I love that, Jason, what you shared. Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
Yeah,
no, but
I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, it's good. I think, where it happened way early on, before all these trainings and Owners Club even existed, right? Nikki and I met on Gator Elite with Jake Villeret leading those Zooms like 3 times a week, right? For 2 hours a day. That was a tremendous time. And I'm thankful for that. And that was truly a mastermind, and everyone knows Duran at this point. But, when he joined, like, we were talking about tons of crazy things at that point in time, not just cold calling title companies, but talking about like outside things that Pace is teaching now, like infinite banking and a whole life policy, and how his first one was, written up very, very poorly for him, but excellent for the agent that got the commission, right? And how to avoid those kinds of things. We were talking about that already back then, and talking about multifamily and ground up development. We were talking about that even before Duran joined. But when he did, he's bringing all this experience on board, and having to have input from people like him was a tremendous learning experience for all of us.
I agree, Jason. That was a great time. Like, I treasure those moments with all of you, and I know things have changed, but I know we're doing our own thing now and things like that, with another group. But I love that moment. It was like a launch for a lot of us, right? Elevated a lot of us up. So,
Yeah,
and I'm going to ask you a quick question that doesn't have anything to do with real estate, but I have to know. I've been dying to know, like, what is your favorite dish to cook? Sorry, I'm going to ask you that.
Man,
that's a loaded question.
yeah,
I'm like, we have to
really
know. Inquiring minds want to know.
So things like that are really difficult, right?
Or one.
And
What
I think okay, so part of it is my personality. I'm like very detail oriented, and so I want to know more specifics. When you say what is your favorite place to eat, or what is your favorite food, or what is your favorite thing to cook, it's too broad a question for me. So then I come back with like 10 different questions to try to get to an answer, but I don't think we have time for that. So I think one of the so this is one of the favorite things that I used to have in my restaurant almost all the time, because it was something that was very unusual, but really, really tasty, based on what I learned from my mom and my grandma when I was helping them make kimchi and things like that when I was a kid. But if anyone that has a rice culture, they have what's called like the scalded rice, or the scorched rice, which is the golden brown and delicious layer that's right next to the heating element, right? So in Korean, we call it nurungji. It is like 1 to 1.5 layers thick. Sometimes it becomes almost brown, but if you can get it perfect, where it's a dark brown, or like a darker than golden brown and delicious, the texture, the flavor, and things like that are amazing. So that is inspiration. But I take risotto, and I don't use arboreal rice. I use carnaroli rice. It has a little better texture. And so I make a risotto out of that with dashi, which is a Japanese broth, and some shiitake. And that becomes the flavor that's infused into the carnaroli rice, which is essentially risotto. And then I take that and I stuff it with duck confit, which is duck cooked in its own fat. So we render the fat out of all the ducks that we bring into the restaurant, and then we slow cook it for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. after we've brined it for 3 days, and then we make it so it's like super tender. Like if you push your finger into the meat, it gives a little bit of resistance, but it will just kind of smash down. We stuff that into the risotto, and then when we have an order, we saute it so that it's crispy, golden brown, and delicious. And then we take tomatoes from one of my favorite tomato farmers at Santa Monica, and then we make a tomato sauce with a little truffle oil and a little bit of parsley and like brunoise of red onion. And so you get texture, sweet flavors, and a lot of amazing things.
You're making me hungry.
Me too.
I don't know if any of you can imagine this, right?
No, I
It's
am.
just
I'm
crazy.
following you. And you know what I love about that, Jason? And this is what we all love about you is that
Mhm.
you're so detailed with the food. And I've seen that. I've been able to observe you now for over almost 2 years. And so I've watched you kind of implement that same kind of way of cooking into your real estate, right? Like you're
Yeah.
very creative, but you're very much a person who is lifting others along the way. And I know that you do a lot of different things, but tell us what is your, I mean, I can see this all coming together even in your cooking, right? So tell us what your greatest thing is in real estate that you enjoy the most. What is the thing that you enjoy the most? And what got you into the real estate world?
Mm, so you do something in business as a guy, we do things because we want to make sure we provide for those that are considered our loved ones, right? So I'm married to Jamie.
Yeah.
My goal is to create an empire for her. And my goal is to make her a queen. And I have this discussion with her often. I want her to be the queen who rules over this kingdom, but rules with kindness and gentleness and with wisdom, right? Not to be a princess that enjoys the spoils of their parents, but then when it comes to them taking over, they completely destroy it because they don't know how to run anything, right? So that is my goal. And as we're growing this kingdom, she's coming along, seeing how the process is, seeing how I have run things in the past, and now she's become integrated into that, right? So if she's not a queen yet, she's going to be a queen very, very soon, right? So if all of you that don't know Jamie, whenever she gets involved in something, she executes really, really well. That's why I was attracted to her, because the younger generation are known to just do things half-fast, and I'm not okay with that.
Right.
So I kind of take what I want to have for Jamie and her family and my parents too, and my sister and her husband. I want that to be with everyone that's involved and we consider partners. Like Nikki is a partner. I want her to grow a kingdom alongside, I guess Jamie and my kingdom. And I want to see that prosper. And then when her kingdom prospers and our kingdom prospers, we can do business together. We can be partners together. And that provides an infrastructure that can also be passed on to the next generation and next generation, right? There's something to do with proximity, right? When you're around successful people, then things rub off. You learn things that you've never even heard of, right? So Nikki, you're in a lot of meetings with me, and I'll bring things up that people have never even heard of, right?
Mhm.
And there's another, property in Soho that I've been trying to help people navigate through. And, the son, who's the CEO of the whole empire, is like very well educated. He's very well read. He's very successful in his own right. But there's things that I bring to the table, which he goes, well, I've never even heard of that. I'm like, yeah, you haven't heard of that because this is not your world. You are not a real estate investor, right? So being in proximity of successful people is, I think, really important. Being teachable is important. Not saying, oh, I'm the grunt, I'm just a gopher. No, you are the most important student that your mentor has. And he's trying to pass on his wisdom and knowledge, or her wisdom and knowledge and experience to you, so that you can carry on. And then your mentor can say, this is my partner. This is someone I've poured my heart and soul into, and I can vouch for them. And the people that have been part of the wholesaling teams in Orange County and Ventura County and the other partners that have come along. I can vouch for almost all of these people. I'm sorry, but I can't vouch for everyone. But for most of the people that have been involved with us the past 2 years, they're now my partners, right? And Nick is one of them.
So grateful for you and Jamie. And Jamie
Yeah.
is amazing. She
Yeah.
will be on this podcast because she better watch out because we're going to pull her on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Next time we loop back, Jamie will join us. I know she will. I was telling her how this social media, in what, 8 years, I had one Facebook post. That's it. And now I'm doing all this. So if I can do it, she can do it too. So,
Yeah, you all can do it,
I know. It's
Everyone has their
amazing. No, I'm sorry, didn't hear that. What?
Everyone has their strengths, but have you heard the
Yes.
analogy of American baseball and Japanese baseball?
No.
So American baseball, they try to see what your strength is, and they try to make you the best at that to your limits and push you beyond your limits. That's American baseball, right? So being an MVP is the emphasis in the way training happens. But in Japanese baseball, it's more of, okay, I want to make everyone as well-rounded as possible first, right? So you can play every position well. And then after that, then if you want to be the superstar in this position, you can do that. So then, well, it's not that one is better than the other, because if you look at world baseball, the Japanese teams do really well. The American teams do really well. So it's not that one or the other works. I think it's a matter of the personality that you have. But my mentality too in running, whether it's a real estate team or whether it's a restaurant team, I want everyone to be able to do everything well. But that takes a lot of time, right? And the nickname of executive chefs are the head dishwashers. And what that means is the next person to do dishwashers after the designated dishwashers is the executive chef. So he needs to jump into every position and do it well, right? Whether it's in the baking or the pastry or the dessert program, or whether it's saute and you're, cooking vegetables or you're on the grill, I have to be able to do everything well. And that's the mindset that I have in running teams. And then just like the American team, we have to have people that are excellent in what they do, right? And that way you can have a superstar team. But if no one's good at anything, then what are you going to have? You're going to have nothing. Right.
Well, and it gives everybody on the team a perspective of what's involved with each category. That's huge. Because if you don't know what struggles they're going through, how can you help them move forward? Yeah, it makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good. Barbie, I'll let you do the next question.
What are some of the lessons you've learned being in your position? What it can go in different directions. I know details. Is it with people, or is it the business side? You choose. Whether what's something that you recently learned that you thought, wow, that was a big eye opener for me.
So if you're in Gator and Lead, or you were in Gator and Lead when Jake Villeret was leading it, I have shared many times that I am in a lawsuit. I'm still in a lawsuit. All right. So one thing is, if you don't know how to do everything, then it's easy for things to fall through because you don't know what you have to catch. You're not aware of it. So one of the things is, this was early on, I released the funds to save someone out of pre-foreclosure. I released it out of escrow before they signed the deed of trust, having faith that they were a good person, right? And if I had a mentor that was always with me and they were looking over everything, they would have gone, Jason, you shouldn't do that. But I didn't, right? So we released $110,000. They have not even attempted to pay $1 of it back. The daughter has said, we're so thankful for you that we're able to keep our home that we grew up in, and that my father didn't have to have destroyed credit, right? Well, if you're so thankful, why don't you get on a payment program or something? Like pay like $1,000 or $2,000 a month at least.
Something attempt. Yeah.
Agree. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, like Pace says, and it's common in the restaurant world, everyone's a liar, and don't even trust your grandma. I don't know exactly what he says, but it's like, buyers are liars and sellers are worse, right? So that's going back to, you have to know everything, and you can be a superstar. Like, I don't really cold call and wholesale anymore, right? We've been with some of our partners for like a year and a half, 2 years. So they do the cold calling and they do the negotiations. I don't even have to review LOIs and stuff anymore. But then when they get into a situation where they don't know where to go, for instance, in Los Angeles, if you get a multifamily or you get like a resort or something like that, or a hotel situation, almost everyone calls me because my reputation is I've been trained at a commercial brokerage, right? And part of my training was I was the underwriter, I was the transaction coordinator. I sat in all the meetings for closings, and I was a manager for 2 mixed use properties too. So I managed properties as well. So I know how to run business. So, like for instance, Kalani on the Big Island, we live there now, and that's a 50 key project. That's because Grant Walker was getting something under contract. He was looking at it, and then he didn't know what the numbers looked like and what he had to do. And that's where Jamie and I were already in Oahu, and we'll say, well, we're in Oahu in 2 weeks, so we'll just add like 4 days to the tail end of it, and we'll fly home later. And we walked the property, and I told Grant before we went, I'm like, if you can get it at 2 million, I think it will make sense. But after walking the property, I'm like, no, Grant, it needs to go down to 1 million because we need to spend at least 2 million for rehab. So then we went back and negotiated, and then he was talking to our selling agent and also to the listing agent, and we came back with 1.25 and then seller finance for 2.15. Right? So that makes it cash flow, right? And that makes it easier to do the cash out refinance. And so what am I trying to say? You're not going to know everything, right? But Barb knows a lot. Nikki knows a lot. Like, I know a lot. Jamie knows a lot. So then why would you try to do everything on your own? Like, what happened?
I've done that for 30 years. It was all alone and very isolated until I found this community. It was like, oh, wow, what a relief. I don't have to do it all. It's great.
So that's kind of important, right? Know your lane, get good at something, provide value for something, right?
Yeah.
Everyone can get good at something, but sometimes it just takes a lot of grit and a lot of putting your head down and getting the work done. And for you visionaries out there, you also have to do the work too, right? Like, I am sick and tired of visionaries telling me all these things that they want to do, and then they just want me to be on board with their team and do all the work. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Because I'm a stinking good visionary too, and I'm a stinking good integrator, so I can do everything that you want me to do and everything that you do. So then why should I become partners with you? You have to provide value. Then you get paid.
Yeah.
Right? So I would never say anything like that to Pace because he's an amazing visionary and he provides value to everybody. But there's other visionaries out there that want to be like Pace, but you don't provide any value, right?
Yeah.
So people are wondering, like, why am I not making money in this business? Well, do something where people are willing to pay for your services, right? And to become partner with you. So I don't know. We just went on this rant for a while.
No, it's good. It's great.
So good. And you and Jamie both always add value wherever you go. Even if we're sitting at a restaurant eating, hot pots or wherever it may be, you're always adding value in Zooms and everything, even for Pace in his Zooms. So we have one last question for you. Well, maybe one and a half. So thank you for your time. I know your time is precious. I know you're super busy. We both are grateful for you for being on here today.
Absolutely.
One of the things we want to ask you is if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what is a good, would you want them to reach out to you on social media? And if if that's where you want them to reach out to, where is it? Instagram? Is it Facebook? What is the best place to reach you at?
I think email is best. I can't give out my phone number anymore
Yeah,
because
I don't either.
yeah, like I am at my core a very good integrator. I get work done so that there's analysis. But with that analysis, I'm closing deals for people too, right?
Mhm.
So depending on our relationship, I will do it for free or I'll take half, right? Um,
That's
but if people,
tremendously generous.
Yeah.
that's why a relationship is important, right? So Barb, if you got stuck on something, then I would offer my services for free. And then even before I knew what you looked like, Nikki was already talking about you, right?
Oh, that's nice.
Barb's
So
awesome.
it's good to have people vouch for you or your reputation to precede you, right? So if it was a situation where Nikki was involved and said, "Hey, I need to help my friend Barb," I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely," and it would be for free. But if I don't know you, like, why would I do anything for free? The only
Yeah.
time, the only other time I offer anything for free if it's coming through the Gator underwriting Zoom, right?
Mhm.
So we do that. But if people want to reach me, my email is, I guess to the top right or like right here, or you can
Yep.
just do the Let's Connect, which is here, and
Yep.
then just scan that QR code and it'll get you my email address and my Instagram. I don't post a lot right now. I am just kind of buried in a lot of work, and I do a lot of the integrator work too, right? So the way I close on deals is I'll try to have a conversation with the person that has distress. And then I'll take the underlying information and the public record information. I'll do an analysis and I'll provide something to them that will hopefully make sense. Maybe not their first choice because everyone wants everything in cash. But if you want too much, you're not going to get it in cash. But maybe I can offer more over terms. So that's how I like to close. And so every time there's a closing, I'm always spending several hours setting up the numbers so that it would be beneficial for the seller first. And then if it benefits us, then it benefits us. But if it doesn't benefit us and it helps the seller, I still do that as well too. Right. So it
That's
really
that's
depends.
that's really valuable what you just said, because I think sometimes I know that's Pace's goal is to everybody wins, but sometimes, and there's people in our community here in Idaho, that's not always the case, and we're trying to be very tactful on how to shift that perspective.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's number one. I think that everybody has to win. It can't just be one-sided.
Right.
Yeah.
It's what's the point? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot, you know, I'm not that young if people don't know, right? So I've seen a lot, and I've seen my life in Los Angeles change, and it's people have changed to very short-term thinking. But my dad is really old school, and he has clients that keep calling him like year after year after year, and it's because he has that mindset. I will help you because you need the help, and I can provide the value, whether my dad makes money or not. But you know what? My dad does pretty well for himself because he's always giving. And then if he gets a return, he gets a return. And he's a real estate agent, he does residential mostly, but then he also manages 3 apartment buildings or 3 multifamily.
Mm.
So when he's part of, he is the manager for these apartment buildings, he goes above and beyond and he does things that most people can't or especially are not willing to do. Like for me too, when I was managing the mixed use properties, I would go find toilets for free on Craigslist back then, and then bring it over and then change out the broken one at the store or whatnot. Right? I don't have to save $250 for a commercial grade toilet for my landlord, but I spend 30 minutes driving, 30 minutes coming back, so an hour of my time to save my client $250, and I changed the toilet myself, so I'm saving them like another $250 on a plumber coming out. right? So I just saved $500. I
Right.
don't necessarily report all that stuff, but he gets an invoice for me buying a toilet, right?
Right.
But then there's no labor and things like that. So a sharp landlord will go, what just happened? Jason spent like $100 or $125 on a toilet when it should be $250. Also,
Right.
there's no plumber bill, and then he's not charging me for something. So then what happens when things get lean? I still am managing his property, right? So
I'm a plumber. I can plumb pipes. I can sweat pipes. I worked construction all through high school and college, and I've built three houses myself, and so I can fix a toilet 3,000 miles away in Vermont. So I understand. But my getting back to being a go-giver, my dad was a go-giver, so we owned a marina, and I worked with him construction, and people year after year would come back, and one guy brought him a battery because he gave him a battery out of a boat once when he needed it, and he came back with a brand new one. So I lived with that. So you always have to give, and it's always more than you. It's bigger than you, and and my kids now have that, and I'm just so, you either have it or you don't. It's not something you really take on. You have to have them.
And what you give out comes back.
Yeah.
Most of the time, right? Like what goes around comes around is that old saying, right? So when you're giving out, it always comes back. And I think that's great. Jason, you're awesome. I would ask you a question for your time. I know what your business would look like in 5 years, and you're going to make Jamie a queen, and you're going to, but I know you're going to bring others with you alongside you, because that's your personality as you
already have for me.
Yeah, me too. And so thank you for all that you do in our community and for what you give. I feel like those who give the most, right, are king and queen anyway, even if we don't win like money wise, right? Let's just say that we are still king and queen because we are giving and giving to others and helping others elevate up. That is what you and Jamie do constantly. And I'm not going to talk more because then I'll start crying, and I don't want to cry because I'm not a cute crier. So,
Jamie, you sure you don't want to peek in here and say hi? Give us a little. She there?
She is. She's probably right there.
2 seconds. Hey, Jamie.
She's a sweetheart and a go-giver, the best TC. Top tier TC, right?
Oh, thank you.
In our community, hands down, like one of the very, very best out there. So we plan to have you. We're having TCs coming on, just so you know. That's our next lineup. So.
And you know us. We're pretty tame.
Yeah, Jason and I are so grateful for you, Barb and Nikki, for being our friends and being our community and just supporting each other and having our backs. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Go enjoy. Don't work too much. Go outside.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Godspeed. Bye-bye.